now shift focus to the air show that's currently underway in Hyderabad. Pretty much everyone from the Indian aviation industry and the global aviation industry are talking about the India opportunity. We've been speaking with a bunch of people. Let's listen into where they see the Indian aviation market headed.
But I tell you where we are now. We have a fleet of 57 aircraft, of which 42 are Boeings and 15 are the turboprops. And from a fleet of 57, I think we should be growing the overall size of our fleet in line with the forecasted growth. Currently, we are at about 20% market share. We would like to defend that and hopefully grow that market share. And in terms of new routes, it's very difficult to prognosticate anything now. But suffice it to say, we'll be present in all the important destinations where trade and commerce is very important.
Pricejet is one of those predominantly Boeing customers, and they have always been with Boeing. And as you know, they started with what we call those time classics airplanes. Then they went into next generation like the 737-800s and the 900ERs that they fly today, and still taking some deliveries. And then as the fuel price started going high, we had a sort of demand from our customers saying we got to find a way to reduce fuel burn. And you have to make the airplane more comfortable and on and on. So to that, our engineers took that challenge seriously, worked with the engine company CFM, and we are now promising that when you fly this airplane, 737-8 MAX that was just purchased, we will burn at least 14% less fuel.
So expansion plans, fare wars, it's all happening in Indian aviation. For more on this, we're joined by Kapil Kaul of CAPA. Kapil, appreciate you joining us here on India Business Hour. We're seeing an intense price war on between airlines. While it's good news for customers, it is going to further impact profitability of airline companies. In fact, today, IATA has lowered its profit projection for the aviation sector across the board. But this is really going to hurt Indian aviation companies, don't you think?
You see, first of all, India goes through these sharp dips in off-seasons. Q2 is very weak. The airlines actually lose focus once they see the load factors falling down. And Q4 traditionally has been extremely weak as well. And these pricing initiatives are primarily a result of the falling load factors. And it happens in every quarter. In the last couple of quarters, what has happened is that the pricing initiatives that have been initiated actually financially ruined every airline, and the losses of the Q4 almost was much higher than the 3 quarters put together. So far what I'm seeing in this pricing initiative that has been started, and there have been 4 or 5 interventions, largely driven by the fact that you have a falling load factors. So that needs to be arrested. Airlines get very nervous when they see load factors falling below certain levels. So that's something is a primary driver. Second, more important, is the need to raise funds. Because I think if you look at the LCC model, if you are able to get, if you're able to sell your tickets and unsold inventory in advance, and especially the advance purchase, then you are able to, it helps in capitalization. So it's need to address the load factors, and more important, to raise some funds as well. It is too early to say that whether it's revenue positive. Airlines do tell me that they're revenue positive, but we will need to look at the Q4 results to see what those numbers are. My own sense is that as long as it's targeted, as long as it's to burn your extra unsold inventory, as long as it doesn't create a negative fare war, then it's good. But the implementation sometimes goes out of control, because one airline could see it as creating incremental revenues, but the other changes the game, like it happened in a couple of quarters. So it's very important to see that as long as it remains targeted. But the need to raise capital, to raise funds, is also a critical driver.
I understand the need to arrest the slide in load factors, Kapil, but I want to talk about specifically the way that SpiceJet has really emerged as the aggressor as far as the fare war is concerned, and Indigo has pretty much had to follow. So Indigo has been pushed into a corner. It's the only profitable airline in the country. Do you believe that, at least even as far as Indigo is concerned, given the fact that we're now seeing this load factor decline as well as this fare war ensue, that the company will be unable to hold on to last year's profitability and will take a hit?
So my own sense is that this set of fare wars that have, pricing initiatives absolutely is a revenue positive for Indigo, because they would be selling the unsold inventory, which perhaps they have not been able to sell as much as in earlier quarters. So these pricing initiatives, as long as it remains targeted, it remains to sell your extra inventory, I think it's a revenue positive for Indigo. My sense, primarily, as for Indigo is concerned, is that overall they will be profitable. Looking at their numbers so far, I think it will be lower than last year estimates. But the present pricing initiatives is revenue positive for Indigo, and I am hoping that for the airlines others which have initiated, there is a revenue positive for them. The critical question is that as for Indigo is concerned, there is no, or any other airline, I don't think they can actually afford to wait if a competing airline has a very strategic pricing initiative. They don't want to wait for a day. So the moment X airline has a pricing initiative, it's quickly followed, because they will lose numbers much faster, and they don't want to do it. So my sense is that the moment one airline initiates, logically everybody would follow, and that's the way about it.
Okay, so you still believe that Indigo will actually benefit from the fare war and may in fact come out revenue positive. But let me ask you, Kapil, this my final question. AirAsia's clearance has come in. It is still awaiting the air operating permit. Given the concerns voiced by the FIA and by companies like Indigo, do you believe that the air operating permit issued by the DGCA will come in before the term of the UPA2 ends?
Well, technically, I think after the DGCA disposed all objections, my sense is that they have an aircraft coming. They need to do some 9 proving flights. Most of their manuals have been approved. Some may be still approved. But so I think it should be technically a formality for them to get a AOP. And my sense is that within the next couple of months, May or June, if all goes well, they should start operations. But there are too many issues which perhaps are not controllable. There is a legal case that has been deferred to 23. FIA has written to the Prime Minister. So one can't say, but looking at seeing the DGCA's comments and the Ministry's comments disposing of the objections, it should technically be a formality. But in India, as I said, the aviation continues to be uncertain, especially from a policy and regulatory framework. One doesn't really know whether they would get their permission. But to have an FIA, to actually oppose a new entry just because there is an FDI issue. Because I remember when they got an FIBP approval, the Commerce Ministry and the Secretary DIPP mentioned that this is not only for the existing airlines, it's also for new airlines. So I think the policy was clear. It's extremely unfortunate that the airline industry is taken to this level. I would think that if they're meeting all procedures, they're meeting all regulatory requirements, the licenses should have happened much faster. Because we have an industry in the airline industry which is very, very sick. You cannot have the entire value chain of aviation dependent on existing players. You need newer players, you need newer capacity. So it's important. But so I think FIA's objections, my sense, primarily with respect to not allowing them FDI, is extremely unfortunate.
All right, Kapil, well, we will have to wait and see just when we are going to see those new players taking off in India. Still, AirAsia is pending that air operator's permit, though my sources tell me that they might be taking delivery of their aircraft fairly soon. Up next.